Well, good day and good time to study Torah Thursday morning at 10 a.m. If you're watching on YouTube, I really would appreciate you doing us a huge favor. Go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Uh, it's kind of surprising to realize on most YouTube channels this is the case, but I would like to change it. Somewhere around 60 some odd percent of the people who watch our videos are not even subscribers. So by you subscribing helps produce a larger algorithm and more people will see our teaching and video. Steve Van Brunny's class that he did a couple of weeks ago on the red heifer. I don't know what the numbers are now. Have you checked it today?
Yesterday was 12,000.
12,000? It went viral. Viral. You hear me? That is the most viral video we have had put up on the NETIV. Now, we have a lot of videos that have made it to 12 or 42,000, but that's over a number of years. This was in a matter of how many days do you think, Steve?
2.5.
2.5. Brilliant. So Amani said she watched it too. So it's a really good class. If you haven't seen it, it's a good class to post up and share with your friends. Christians will be as interested as anybody else. The other thing that's really interesting is the number of videos that I'm seeing put out by rabbis. One I posted the other day, even though Shapiro, what's his name? Ben Shapiro is not a rabbi. He did a video with a Christian talking about the Noahide laws and why Jews don't convert other people to Judaism and the reason. Very, very well presented. And I just posted this morning another video about the surprising things that you didn't know about Noahides and their travel or their journey in society with the Jewish people. It's a very interesting a thing. Rabbi Malat is who the video is with. So take time, watch it today. It'll be great. I posted it up on the NETIV uh, uh, Facebook page. Let me turn my light down on my computer so my glasses don't reflect. Are they still reflecting, guys? No? Okay, good. Excellent. We are in Parshas Vayetze. And we're going to do I'm going to do a brief overview about something that is really a nugget or a kernel of wisdom for the B'nai Noach, for those people who are in the nations. Rabbi Avner Monday so eloquently presented where the seven mitzvahs, the Sheva mitzvot, are throughout Genesis. And as one would know, if you try to go and find, quote, the seven mitzvahs like you would the Ten Commandments, you're not going to find them because they're actually woven into the text, into each one of the stories that are listed from Adam all the way through to Noah. You will see the examples come up. And he mentioned also beyond that, it goes through the patriarchs as well, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Well, he said that Jacob is the place that we get the insight on justice and fairness, work ethic, all kinds of fantastic lessons are learned in that. So I thought today, before we start our discussion in the text, and I hope that you read the Torah text for this week so that we can have a intelligent discussion about the text or answer questions that you may have about the text. So the rich insights that we're going to see, the concepts of justice, work ethic, and prosperity comes through this story of Jacob and his journeys, works and the building of his family wealth starting from zero, absolutely nothing except what he received from his father, from the covenant that he had received, the blessing. And how does it manifest? How does these themes manifest themselves in the portion? So let's look at this. First of all, the concept of justice. Now, we can't have a discussion about justice as B'nai Noach, what that looks like. And we all know, without going into a tremendous detail, the concept of justice for the B'nai Noach is courts of justice, having justice in society. People are being treated with justice. We all know that the Torah can be summed up in this concept: how do you treat your fellow? That is, treat your fellow as you would want to be treated. The Torah is summed up in that. So that is the ultimate goal of justice. But there's a divine justice that also follows those who serve Hashem. This divine justice in Jacob's journey starts with the dream at Bethel. Genesis 28, verse 10 through 22, reaffirms God's covenant with Abraham and Isaac. And if you'll recognize that each patriarch, even all the way down to Moses, there is a reminder to that generation: I am partnering with you in covenant because of Abraham, your father. So Abraham has the covenant with God. If you remember, it was the covenant of pieces, in which he was in a sort of a prophetic state, sleeping, some say, but he was in a state of vision in which God walks, or he walks in the pieces of the covenant, the animal that was cut in half and sawed in half, and there God made a covenant. The covenant to Abraham was not only a covenant about the land of Israel. As a matter of fact, it was specifically about the land of Israel, and that is why this day Israel is in the land. Now, the land of Israel that God promised Abraham was not just that little postage stamp of a land in the midst of all the Arab Middle East. It is humongous. And Steve has had some fantastic discussions on this in his class. Now, he promised that Jacob and his descendants will inherit the land, and they will also be blessed. That was part of this whole dream state, a prophetic dream that Jacob had. This underscores the divine principle of justice, as Jacob is chosen to carry forward the legacy of his father and his grandfather. It underscores this idea that Jacob is chosen to continue on this path of righteousness, to teach his children and his children's children. His subsequent hardships are a form of sort of a moral reckoning, illustrating the actions have consequences. Now, we all know that when someone commits themselves to be the servant of Hashem, not your whole life doesn't turn into roses and butterflies. It's often very difficult. Now, we see in the story of Jacob, he goes to Laban, his uncle. Now, there is deception and justice during this same event. Laban substituted Leah, if you remember in the story, for Rachel, during the wedding night. This is found in the 29th chapter of Genesis. Now, it highlights human injustice. So as a B'nai Noach, you would understand that if you want to understand what justice is according to the Torah for the B'nai Noach, we would say that if you make a promise and a commitment, you need to follow through. Playing shenanigans with another person or being dishonest in a relationship is not a character trait of justice, but injustice. However, Jacob's perseverance and eventual prosperity demonstrates that justice prevails over time. Whenever we see injustice in our society, rest and know that in time justice will prevail, God willing. That is, if righteous people are living in that land or in that nation. His ability, though, to confront Laban and then negotiate fair terms for his work reflects his growing sense of fairness and assertiveness. Being one who looks for justice means that one also can be assertive and work toward a fair resolution to issues. Let's look at work ethic Jacob is probably the one of the most beautiful examples of a good work ethic. Jacob works tirelessly for Laban, and imagine 7 years you work for to marry Rachel, and then another 7 years deceived. After that, he marries the other daughter, which is the woman that he wanted, Rachel. Now, despite Laban's dishonesty, Jacob demonstrates a strong work ethic, fulfilling his commitments to work diligently. I mean, he really worked. Rabbi Avner said something in class Monday that I hadn't realized, and that the Midrashic text tells us that when Jacob studied in the Academy of Shem, that he didn't sleep laying down, that he would stay in sort of an alert manner, sleeping in his chair, leaning against a desk or a wall. And he was methodical in his approach to study, and he was also methodical in his approach to dealing with his uncle, soon to be father in law. This approach exemplified how effort and ingenuity can lead to a tremendous amount of success. One of the things that seems to be a hallmark of the Jewish people is their ability to succeed. Now, not every Jewish person that I know is wealthy. We understand that. But there are plenty of examples of very wise businessmen and wealthy Jews who have taken these principles and they live by them. They live by the Torah principles. Even those who are not necessarily religious follow these Torah principles and see great achievement in their life. Let's look at this concept of prosperity that I just mentioned. There's first this material prosperity. That Jacob's wealth grew significantly during this time, and he carefully tends to Laban's flocks and employs a strategy breeding technique that gave him great prosperity. Remember, he said, I'll only take those who are mixed with these different patterns and colors. And then he figured out how to breed them. And there's an interesting story of how that happened. It's a bit mysterious to me. I don't understand it, but maybe we can have this in the discussion. But the idea was he prospered from this, and the fruit of both divine blessing that came to him and human effort. Remember this. As human beings, God desires to give us the best that we can have. We have been brought to this earth with a tremendous amount of struggle and effort to come to complete maturation or maturity in our life. And that in our struggles, if we negotiate with justice and a sense of fairness and assertiveness, we can be reassured that divine justice or divine blessing can come to us. Often when we talk about justice, we think of the harshness of justice, the judgment of justice, the punishment of justice. But there's another side. There's the divine blessing that comes from the justice of Hashem. And that justice comes through our human effort. We know that keeping the mitzvahs bring favor to us. Treating our neighbor with kindness brings favor to us. Let's look at the second part of prosperity in this family that was formed out of this. Beyond material wealth, Jacob expanded his family. It signifies another form of prosperity. His 12 children became the foundation of the tribes of Israel. Thursday was Thanksgiving here in the United States. And I walked into my eldest son's house, the first time that the whole family has been together for Thanksgiving in over 10 years. Now, we have been at their house for Thanksgiving, but it was rarely with any of the other children. We had everyone there, the grandchildren, etc. And my son says, I want to welcome everybody to my home, and I want to ask the patriarch of our family to give us a blessing. And I was just overwhelmed with the sense of prosperity that I have received in having this family. Have we had trials? Do we continue to have trials at families, seeing our children struggle, whether it be psychologically or financially, whatever it may be? But oh, it was so fantastic to raise a glass of wine and toast my family and to bless each one of my children. That prosperity from family means everything. And one of the things that I try to encourage those who come into the Noahide world is to never forget your family. Sometimes family relationships break up and are difficult to maintain because of your belief systems. But do everything you can to maintain the solidarity of a family. It's so, so very important to have your family. When all is said and done, when you and I die and pass away, the only thing that is carried on from you is the DNA in your children. And we've also learned from Torah wisdom that your children's mitzvahs and positive actions in this world also continues to bring reward for you in the world to come. Now let's look at this last but not least is Jacob's spiritual prosperity. His encounter with God at Bethel provides him with a spiritual reassurance and a sense of purpose. This spiritual connection enriches his life and sustains him during these hardships. I had someone send me an email a few days ago, a new student actually, and she's actually come into the class one or two times so far. And she had asked, she come out of Christianity, and I think it was Catholicism. And she was saying, how do you get a sense of connection with no community, no religious form, no religious structure? And I was so happy to be able to explain to her that the purest, most authentic relationship with God is being a ben or bat Noah, a descendant of Noah who captures the essence of a personal, vibrant relationship with the creator of the universe. That is true spiritual connection that enriches our life, not our church attendance, not going to synagogue, but there is a connection that brings us to a higher level. And often we forget that that is the purest connection we can have. This connection is so beautiful in the sense that it can be innocent. Also, don't disregard your connection with God that you've had over the years, even though you felt that you were wayward when you were in other religious beliefs. I want you to realize that God has always been with you. God cannot be somewhere else. God is always a rich, sustaining presence in your life. Even when you were possibly in the darkest of sin, Hashem has always been there to hear your prayer. One of the things that I have as part of my gratitude is that God, thank you so much that in my darkest time when I lacked emunah, when I lacked faith and I lacked sort of a direction, you maintained your presence in my life and continue to give me divine guidance. Now let's pull all of these things together and I'll conclude and then we can start in our discussion. These themes are actually intertwined throughout this whole parsha. Justice requires work. Think about this. If you want justice in your life, whether with man or with God, you must work at it. Jacob, success is not handed to him. He earns it through labor and resilience. Even in the face of injustice, any other human being would have thrown their hands up and just left the whole mess. He didn't do that. Next, work ethic leads to prosperity. We all know nothing comes from nothing. And if you put effort in, God will reward you in this material world and the world to come. Jacob's dedication to his task demonstrated how his ethical labor contributes to the material and family abundance. Last but not least, divine justice ensures balance. While Jacob faced hardships and difficulties, divine justice actually ensured that his diligence and righteousness are ultimately rewarded, reflecting on the balance between human effort and divine providence. So may we all learn from this portion today as we discuss how God rewards your sense of effort and ethics and behavior and mitzvahs with divine justice of blessing. Okay, that concludes my portion of the discussion. And we want to ask you again, if you're watching online, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really, really appreciate it. I'd like to be able to give you something for it, but it's just a free effort. We're not asking for your money, we're asking for your subscription. Okay, let's get back into the discussion. Let's start with Genesis, the 28th chapter, verse 10 through 22. This is containing the dream at Bethel. So, anybody would like to take the text or start a discussion? I'll mention the elements and then we can go on. You have Jacob departing Bethel from Beersheba. He travels toward Haran. That night, he laid stones around his head. I think Rabbi Wolbe went into a good explanation of the stones around his head. But the next morning, it said that he woke up and anointed the stone. And so there's a midrashic text that says that the stones became one stone, like an altar. It's incredible. God appearance to him in the form of an angel, a divine being. He wrestles with this being and a promise to Jacob. Next, Jacob awakens and names the place the house of God. And we all know that that place was where the Temple Mount is located. Very interesting. Who has something you would like to bring up in that text or something else? Who'll be first?